I need you to perform a little, shall we say, industrial espionage.
Pop, even if I knew what Professor Impossible's big secret project was, I'm not allowed to...
Not that. Wait, he's working on a secret project? What is it? Oh, whatever. Never mind. Just take this. I'm gonna need 24 copies, stapled and collated. And be sure each one gets one of these.
What is this?
My musical!
Hi, welcome to Venture Bros, the Venture Bros podcast. I'm your host, as always, Bryan Dressel. With me, as always, you know what? I'll just go easy. We have Nick Superman Friedemann.
I have heat vision.
I was hoping you'd bring up your rainbow hands again.
Oh, you know, all right. I had this idea a long time ago that feeds into this, where I was like, the best way to test if Clark Kent is Superman is take a quarter, super glue it to the floor, watch him walk by, pick up the quarter with ease. That's Superman.
That's amazing. I'm actually really glad I went with Superman now. I was a little disappointed in myself, but that worked out really well. We also have Matt, Manchester Black, Dykes.
Manchester's not that far from me.
Yeah? I couldn't remember if Manchester Black was actually a British supervillain or not, so that's what I had to look up, and he is.
Yeah. That's apt.
He even wears the British flag as a shirt.
Of course he does.
Well, yeah, Americans wrote him, so of course he does.
They do realize that we British people don't do that.
What, are you not wearing it right now? I don't have the camera up. I assumed that's just always on your shirt.
No.
Right?
I thought
just
it was
wearing
the
a blue
law.
t-shirt.
Damn it.
No?
I thought it was the law, personally. I mean, when I was there, everyone was wearing them.
Were you wearing a
When
hat?
was this? 1961?
It was 2003, and I wasn't looking at anybody. But, you know, it's fine. I just assume they're all wearing the same shirt. It's been a long time. I celebrated New Year's in London in 2003 into 2004. It was a wonderful time. And I have not been back since. I need to go back again. It's good.
I was 16. I have no idea what I did on 2003, to be honest.
I know exactly where I was, because I was the only sober one, because I was pretty young. But we don't need to talk about that. We need to talk about Bright Lights, Dean City.
Yes, we do.
The sister, or I guess brother episode to last week's episode of Everybody Comes to Hanks. My quick take on this one, not a huge fan of it. I like it. Kind of like how Nick liked last week. I just like this week. I'm not sure if we'll all be in the same page or not on this one. But here, I'll do a very quick breakdown. It would technically be my turn. This one takes place at the exact same time as Everybody Comes to Hanks, but this is Dean's side of the story, where Dean has gotten a internship with Professor Impossible at Impossible Industries in New York City, and while there, he is working for Professor Impossible, who has been working with Phantom Limb in the Revenge Society, where it's him, Baron Underbite, and Professor Impossible, and that's it, and they're trying to recruit new people, and they bring up some of the best reoccurring gags, in my opinion, of the entire show. And that's all I could talk about for the entire thing of why I love this episode, but the rest of the episode's there to make sure that I only kind of like the episode, which is basically just Dean working in the city. His dad comes to write a Broadway play, living in his room with him, and they meet Nathan Fillion Spider-Man, who turns out can sing. And basically, Dean burns down the building and goes home. And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm not a huge fan of it. But what do you guys think? Where are you at in this one?
I like it. I think it's judged harsher than it would be if it wasn't following on from Everybody Comes to Hanks, because that was such an amazing episode. And then you go from that to this one, and you just feel a bit It's got some really good moments in it, but I think overall there's just a lot that doesn't sort of land. There's you have a lot of really, really good moments, but the story itself just feels a little flimsy, and it kind of makes sense that it was actually going to be the same episode. Everybody Comes to Hank and Bright Lights, Dean City was originally going to be one episode, and then they had the Hank stuff, which was like they had 22 pages of Hank stuff, and like we should do these as 2 episodes. So I think the Hank stuff was like they had a lot of meat there, but they didn't have that much for Dean, and then they're like, okay, we need to now sort of stretch that out into a 22-minute episode.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I land on it, which was it feels like a B story. The entire episode feels like a B story to Hank's A story, and I don't think they did, not to be super critiquey on these guys, but I don't think they did enough to flesh this out into its own story, and I think that's why we always kind of have that little bit of a lackluster feeling to it. But Nick, were you on the same page?
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. I think that this falls into maybe you'll follow me on this. I feel like this falls into Pirates of the Caribbean 2 territory. It sets up a lot of stuff, but like ultimately nothing happens in this episode that's substantial. Unlike, because what's weird is I think both episodes are like trying to transition both of these characters into the future of where they want to go, right? Like where they want to be after they're teenagers, basically. Dean's future is like so much more uncertain than Hank's, which I think is part of this problem. But I also think that they don't really tackle anything in this, unlike Hank. Like, I didn't love the hat gimmick in the last episode, but I understood why it was there. With Dean, it's like Rusty's crashing on his couch, or I guess crashing in his apartment, I should say. I don't think Dean has a couch. And
no, he's got a bathtub and a bed.
And then writing his Broadway play, that doesn't really go anywhere. That's okay. That's just the joke for the episode. But Spider-Man doesn't, he just kind of pops in. Like, they don't really set him up or anything, but he ends up going somewhere, so that's set up. And they set up a lot of different things. Like, you've already set up the Revenge Society, but actually setting them up in proper, I would argue, is this is their first episode.
For sure, yeah. Because this is when we really see Baron Underbite.
Exactly. And also, you know, some of the other like failures that they've had and how Impossible Industries is transitioning and all that kind of stuff. It's just setting up a lot of stuff while unfortunately Dean just doesn't have anything to do, realistically.
I do like the Revenge Society stuff. I think that's really good. And I think that opening where Phantom Lim's talking about his dastardly plan and everything like that, I think that's quite a chilling opening, actually.
Yeah.
You know, the plan, it's so really like complex and like, you know, you just sort of think, holy crap, is this something that they've actually done, or is this what they're planning on doing? And it's that sort of thing then of like, God, if they actually pull that off, that would be, you know, that would be amazing, and it would change so much of the way this, like, the series would go.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think those are all the reasons why I enjoy the episode. But
and it's a plausible plan as well.
It's all just yeah, it is, and like that's kind of what I always like about Phantom Limb is like we always we spend so much time with like the Monarch, where we kind of forget that some of the villains out there are very good at what they do, and Phantom Limb is one of them. And I don't know why he feels like the sort of guy, I'm like, I don't get why it's just not working for you. Like, every plan you have is so good, I feel like you should definitely be in charge of whatever the hell you want to be in charge of. But it's just that unbeatable Rusty of just, as soon as Rusty gets involved, shit falls apart, and nobody knows why.
I also think that Phantom Limb's biggest problem is not that he comes up with great plans. I definitely think that he can execute them, but his ego gets in the way a lot of the time. He definitely overshoots or just takes a left turn when he should take a right because his ego is bruised. Yeah. But this actually doesn't come up in this episode. I actually think that he had a good plan. No. Professor Impossible's the one that's fucking everything up.
Oh, yeah. But he does have... Professor Impossible, out of everybody in the entire episode, has the best villain moment. When they find out he runs the entire building on his former brother-in-law Cody's burning body. That's real fucked up.
This is how we're green. You're just like, ugh, oh, God.
Yeah. Even Phantom Limb's like, whoa.
Yeah, Phantom Limbs literally says, and you said you couldn't be a villain.
That's fucking dark, dude.
It is something that even like, what's the Red Skull-esque character that comes in later who's like amazing?
Red Death.
Yes,
Red
Red Death.
Oh,
Even
so good.
Even Red Death in his like horrible murder fugue state would be like, I'm drawing the line here. This is too much.
Oh, I'm so excited for Red Death.
He's so good.
There's something I want to bring up with this episode, and I haven't watched the commentary because I can't do it as much as I want to because I just love the show so much that I'm like, stop talking, I just want to watch the show. And I haven't really read that much of this chapter because the chapter is only one page on this one, and then it's just a lot of the artwork that went into it, which is, of course, interesting and awesome, but it just kind of shows how little the episode was. But I think there's something in this episode, and you guys can tell me if you think I'm right or wrong or not, but I feel like this was the episode, or at least starting here, where they started to make the decision to move the show to New York.
Totally.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
It doesn't
now,
happen
actually.
right away.
Yeah.
But it's season 6 they moved to New York, right? So we have one more season left in the compound.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, season 6 they moved to New York. And yeah, so you got like a season and a half ish left where they're at the compound.
Yeah, and I feel like it was maybe even subconsciously, like it was never the plan to move to New York, I don't think. But I think they just enjoyed having them in the city so much, and enjoyed having the city. I mean, if we have like these boy adventurers and supervillains, it makes sense that we have superheroes, and maybe it wouldn't just be Spider-Man. Maybe there'd be a whole bunch more. And like, I feel like the ideas of like how much can we do in New York versus on the compound is just astronomically different. And I feel like this was kind of like maybe we should figure out a way to get them
Totally. Well, I also think that, like, we've talked about this in previous episodes. I think especially with the episode Penchance to Dean, that it's, I think, them kind of running out of ideas of what to do on the compound. Because you can't really introduce any new characters easily. You always have to find a way for them to have visited the compound in order to introduce them. And it just gets more and more difficult. While with New York, it's just like, well, you can bring up characters and drop them immediately because the city is so densely populated that it doesn't matter.
It's like having a playground.
Exactly.
It's a playground of characters. Having them in a big city, it's like literally just, we can do this character, we can do that character, we can have them go there and do this, and it just opens it up to such a wider thing. And yeah, I now you've mentioned it, I think they did have so much fun writing around the city that they sort of thought, maybe we need to start moving them towards a big city.
Well, I mean, you just think about, just for example, it's my favorite moment in the entire episode of Dean's out on the balcony or the fire escape, and Spider-Man shows up, or Brown Widow, I should say his actual name. Brown Widow shows up, and he's just like, all right, well, blink once if your pimp's inside. And he's like, no, it's my dad. But, like, he's, like, trying to, like, have this, like, heart-to-heart, and then he just goes, hold on, what is that enchanting music? And, like, those are the sorts of things you can't do on the compound. You can't just have Spider-Man just swing by and, like, holy shit, I'm interested in this. And, like, I think just having that, as Matt said, that playground capabilities, I think they just got hooked on it.
Totally. But
and for the best. Like, I love it. I think, I love it when they moved to New York. I think it's fantastic. Not that I love everything before it, but I think it was the right call.
Yeah, I think if they'd have stayed on the compound, it would have got to a point where it's just like, it's getting a bit samey now. Moving to New York, it's like, you know, I know we're going way into the future, like we're supposed to be talking about this episode, but it does open it up so much more, and you can introduce all these other amazing characters, all these other villains, and, like, you know, play with the story. I mean, like, you know, introducing Enzo. Is it Enzo or Enzio or the suit guy? I think
Enzo. I think
it is Enzo.
I think he says Enzo, but I'm not sure if that's his actual name, because it is Rusty and he mispronounces everybody's name.
True.
Yes.
But you can't have a character like that on the compound. You can't just have them just, you know, go down to a tailor or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, and then we would never get, I'm going to start listing off some characters here because they are phenomenal, but you don't get these people. You don't get Brick Frog, you don't get Brown Widow, you don't get London Bee, Fat Chance, Scare Bear, Mr. Plebmigamy, and all of his wives. Lady Hawk Johnson, like, all of these characters show up, and they most of them come back at some point or another, if not as like a major thing. Like Brick Frog's always just a joke, but he's my favorite joke. Fat Chance joins the Revenge Society and actually learns to control the chance in his belly. Scare Bear is always just lurking around. I fucking love Scare Bear. The only one who doesn't really come back is Mr. Plumigamy.
Yeah.
I don't think Lyndon B. Johnson and Ladyhawk come back, do they?
I think they have a gag later on, but I could be wrong. I think they do have one moment, but that's it.
Okay.
Or maybe it was just the moment at the end of this episode, and I'm getting it confused with something later on.
Possibly.
But you might be right. That it might just be the one time they worked with them. But Fat Chance definitely comes back because he works with.
Oh yeah, he has a huge part in All This in Gargantua too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like a lot of these people come back, especially Brick Frog or Brick Frog. And there's a huge like online community of trying to figure out who the hell Scare Bear is.
Yeah.
Like these characters that just kind of pop in for this one moment gags actually all come back. And Scare Bear just cracks me up. I love everything about Scare Bear. Sir, he's not supposed to be in there. I don't know how he got in there.
And he has a knife.
I love how they all
I remember one
gasp
theory
when
about
he...
Scare Bear.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I remember reading one theory about Scare Bear at one point was that it was actually Jonas. I remember reading that and I was thinking, oh my god, that would be...
Yeah, I remember reading that
That would
one.
be insane.
That would be crazy.
They definitely don't go that route, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's... Jonas is having a bit of a problem at the moment, and it's definitely not being Scare Bear. See what I did there? Do you see what I did there? I'm so...
I give it a 3 out of 10.
That's a little high, but thank you.
A for effort.
I wouldn't even give me that. Give me a 1 out of 10 and a C+ for effort, but whatever.
I'm being nice today.
Other than just kind of that, we've kind of talked a little bit about some of the characters that pop up. We've talked a little bit about just the episode itself. What haven't we hit? I feel like that's kind of the problem with this episode is that it's real shallow.
Yeah, there's not a lot. There's one of the things in my notes I've got where Professor Impossible changes from his evil look to good look, and he just stuffs the skull pipe into his cummerbund and then pulls out a regular pipe, and it's just that just made me laugh so much just because of the idea of it's a lit pipe as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I really like that, and I really like the when Dean sees everybody, just his freak out. I just love that Dean still hasn't toughened up. For some reason, that just makes me happy.
I will add a caveat to what you're saying, which is he hasn't toughened up, but he does kind of take down 2 of them before Phantom Lynn comes in and shocks him.
That is kind of true.
It's a weird thing that he kind of succeeds as much as he possibly could, which is not much, but still.
Another thing I'd sort of realize as well is, and I think it was this time I was watching it when I was paying a bit more attention. Dean's apartment is very reminiscent of the apartment that Elwood has in the Blues Brothers. The bed, the train going by. The counters very everything very, very condensed. I was just sort of looking at things. I don't know if I'm maybe reading too much into it or whatnot, but it felt very much like it was at least inspired by that apartment. If you've seen the Blues Brothers,
it could be. I mean, I have nothing to say otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the book now, and one of the things we really haven't talked about, and I feel like it's important that we bring it up, is Nathan Fillion's in this episode.
Yeah.
I love Nathan Fillion. I don't know many nerds who don't love Nathan Fillion. But
awesome.
I love that he's in it, and I love the way that he got in it, which I think is fantastic. And it's that he was just a fan of the show. And when he saw the episode where 21 talks about meeting the caster Firefly, and it was the best thing in his life, he reached out to them saying, "Oh, thanks," and they put him in the show.
That's awesome.
And they didn't know that he could sing as well.
Yeah, he's actually not a bad singer. Just from the sing-along blog, he can sing, but I don't think he's bad. I think he's not a Broadway, champion by any stretch, but he's a good singer. Definitely better than the model.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I listen to the fucking Butter Glider song, and I'm like, get this out of my life. I listen to this song, I'm like, I want a full version of this one.
Yeah.
It's written by the same people. I don't know what the difference is,
I
but I
actually
really
like
like
the
that.
song.
I'm rusty.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah,
like
fun.
it. It's. I'm listening to like on the end credits. I'm like, I shouldn't like this song as much as I do.
Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed we don't have a full version of it. I would totally listen to it. Even Brock said the same thing in his notes. I want the full version of this song.
I'm so glad that it's not just me. I genuinely thought I was going to like say, I've got a really, really deep confession. I like the Rusty song. And then you'd all be like, oh, that's disgraceful.
No, I dig it. I like it. It kind of reminds me a little bit, I mean, totally different songs, but it reminds me of, like, Werewolf Bar Mitzvah.
Yes.
Like that song I wanted the full version of, and then they released it, and it's like, oh, I did not need the full version of it. Especially at the end where they're like, this wasn't supposed to be a full song. Why did you want this? And I'm like, okay, well, it's funny. And I have a feeling the Rusty song would end probably the same way, but it did, like, it's one of those few times I'm like, that joke song, I want the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I love the little details around the Broadway musical things, like literally on the script it says written in one night, as if that's a good thing.
But Rusty would think it's a good thing. Look at how efficient I am. I wrote the whole thing in one night. None of the music's in there yet, but the play's written.
And the most important part is to get a good Rusty, and then just shits all over his son, who he thinks is auditioning for the part.
Oh, yeah. Dad, I'm not sure about that. Not you. You're a terrible
And then he
actor.
laughs.
Like literally laughing his ass off, going, "You're a terrible actor."
Ugh, just terrible.
Like, if he had been right and Dean was asking for a part in the show, what a horrible response.
Terrible.
Fucking Rusty.
Like, it's one of those few moments where, oh man, is Rusty as bad as his dad? Like, that can't be possible. The worst father is always, which I totally said wrong last week, but the worst person in the show has always been fucking Jonas, and then Rusty. Don't be Jonas.
Too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What else haven't we hit? Is there anything else that you guys really want to talk about, or is this just a shorter episode?
The assassination attempt with the sleeping gas.
Which one? Oh, okay.
The first one.
Oh my!
And he's
poor,
and
poor Baron Underbite.
I think as well. Poor Phantom Lynn. He's got this whole speech, and then he's just like, he does it, and then he's like, "Hello, are you listening? Can you hear me?" Because he's just got his headphones and listening to show tunes.
Oh, that was just so unfortunate. Everything went as wrong as possible.
I love Professor Impossible's excuse. Like, I'm new to this.
But clearly you're not. Your entire building is being run on the living corpse of your brother-in-law.
Yep.
He's actually a very, very good villain.
I think he's new to, like, plotting to kill people, not just conveniently using people.
Not just, just being awful. Oh my god. The other thing that I had to bring up is I have to bring up Brick Frog a little bit more, just because I love Brick Frog so much. Specifically because of season 7, more so than this one, but I've been obsessed with him since the first time I saw him and the first time he was introduced. Spoilers, it will be my quote. But then when I finally picked up the book and found that Brick Frog came from an old Halloween costume of Jackson Public, I could not have been more happy. And just the little photo of him in front of his house wearing the stupid Brick Frog hat. Like, it's just
identical as well.
Like, the rest of the costume isn't there. Like, he wasn't throwing bricks as a child.
He did. He had a foam brick as well. In the notes he talks.
Oh, does he? I didn't see.
Yeah, in the notes he talks about he had this foam proper brick that he'd got from Universal Studios or something like that.
Like that, the fact that Brick Frog has a backstory, it just gives me so much joy. Like, I want to go to a convention dressed as Brick Frog, but I don't think anyone will ever understand what I'm doing.
Isn't that the beauty of it?
Might make it more worthwhile. Yeah, I mean, the few people who'd recognize it would be like, holy shit, it's Brick Frog. Brick Frog. Was there any of those characters that really stood out to you guys, like as like a favorite?
Of the random ones?
Yeah, the random introduced ones.
I liked Lyndon B. And I think it's just because of that that speech he has at the end, the way he just talks. I can't remember exactly how he said what he says, but it's just that it's so like very presidential. The way he's saying it, but it's you can sort of tell that it's like some serious sort of like threat type of thing.
I love his little antennas.
Yeah.
Nick, did you have a favorite one?
I always kind of like Fat Chance, even though it's like a very silly character, just because I love the characters in the Venture Brothers that are like, I have this power and I don't understand it, but I'm trying to cash in because it's like pretty much all I've got.
I love that they have him learn how to use his power later, but at the same time, I just love the idea of Fat Chance so much of like, I don't know what I'm getting in here. No idea. He's gonna pull something out.
And it's just like, what does he pull out? He pulls out one of those like poppy like things for kids where it just pops the balls around.
Yeah.
And then like when Rusty goes in it at the end, and they're trying to like find him, and they're like pulling up loads of random stuff, trying to get Rusty back.
I told you, I don't know where it goes. And Baron Underbite just keeps digging around. It's like it's kind of gross in a way, but it's also really funny.
I also love it because it brings up a question when you do. We didn't bring up the ending of this episode because I honestly don't think it matters realistically. It's just another dig at Rusty not being good at his job.
Yeah.
But it brings up an important thing, which is Fat Chance does have... It's an alternate dimension. Unlike other things where usually with like portals and stuff in this show, it just leads somewhere random. It's like, no, it's just genuinely another dimension.
Yeah. And I like that there's a Rusty in there, a successful Rusty. And I just like that when he lands in the room and the boys are like, Dad, oh, you should be so lucky.
You're the dean of this dimension. Explain to him, like...
Or you can't kill him with a rock.
Yeah.
And that's just such a Rusty thing to do. Like, oh, things are much better here. Fucking Rusty.
I actually want to see that episode. I want to see him go to that dimension and clearly see things like billboards with his face on it, but with hair, and then immediately hate him.
See, that if they could have cut out some of the other like almost what felt like filler stuff and had that in there, and it would have been a much better episode.
I would have been so into that. Like, yeah, maybe it's just that they stretched out the wrong stuff, and like that's why this one's a little bit lackluster.
Yeah.
Like, I still think it's a good episode. It's just it's tough to watch this one right after everybody comes to Hanks.
Well, and
like I think maybe
I was gonna say to your point, it's a paired episode. They're both the buttons of the episodes are each other's buttons.
Yeah. The one thing that I didn't really get from either episode, and then we can move into quotes and say goodbye to this one, is they say in the beginning of both and at the end of both, this was their summer. And I don't think they really did a good job cashing in on how much time had passed in either episode.
Yeah, it felt like it was like maybe a week.
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah, like both of them, because even like even in Dean's episode when Impossible asks him like, how long have you worked for me now? I was expecting him to say like a month or two because it's supposed to be the whole summer, and he says a week.
Yeah.
So I don't understand where the rest of the summer went. Like, was it after that conversation 2 months went by?
My guess would be this is like a budgetary thing because they usually do such a good job with passage of time. I mean, like the comic book episode's an example of this. Like future episodes do a good job of this as well. I just think that the budget that they probably had to do things like a montage or whatever, it just didn't happen. And I agree. Like, it threw me off, too, when they were like, how was your summer? And I was like, oh, right. What? Like, in both episodes feel like maybe a week tops.
Hanks even less so. Like, Hanks feels like a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then this one, I'd give it, only because Dean says a week, I'd give it a week.
I think Hanks is a week when you think of the very first bit to the end, because we know 4 days has passed because Rusty's come back.
Yeah.
So I think Hanks does go over a week, but you just don't see 4 days of that week.
it just kind of feels odd. Like it felt like an odd thing to keep in when it just did not feel like that time actually passed. And it's one of those super minor nitpicks, but it is something that I know.
Oh, for sure.
All right, we ready for quotes?
Well, I was going to just ask, what do we think of the Revenge Society advert?
Oh, I mean, that's as great as any of the advertising in the entire show. They're always fantastic.
It's like literally the
They're not
worst
as good as
acting.
Watch and Ward, but
It's like,
well, I mean, Watch and Ward will always have the best advertising.
yeah.
They're the best. But I think these guys come in a close second. Like, they're just fantastic at being awful.
It's true.
Yeah.
I always have a soft spot in my heart for the testicular torsion bit, but
Oh my! Just the way they track the
Yes.
eyes reading it at the end, that was so good. Oh man! All right, well then let's move into quotes.
I'll go last again because I've got 9.
I've already said mine like 5 times, so I'm going first because I've spoiled what mine is. Mine is when you're introduced to Brick Frog, and he just stands there and goes, "Brick Frog," and the immediate response of "Thanks, you're worse than useless."
it's amazing.
I hope in season 8 they do something else with it, but I feel like Phantom Limb has a specific hatred for Brick Frog. Like, he brings it up a few times. Like, he just really hates this villain, and I love it. Specifically in season 8 in the Jaws episode. So good. 7. I haven't seen 8 yet. That makes sense. All right, Nick, what's your quote?
My quote is where Dean is trying to organize all the different villains that are trying to audition. So he's like, if your name is A through M or whatever over here, and then N through Z over here, and one guy raises his hand and he goes, "What if your name starts with no earthly letter?" And then it just cuts to inside the room.
There's not even going to touch that.
Mine
that's
is
a good
after a bit. We didn't really touch on it. It's where Dean is taken home by Professor Impossible in the Apothecar and tells him about, the second chance thing and everything like that. And it's just the last things he says as he flies off. He just goes, "Remember, promotion, human resources, me, not evil. Good night."
Oh, just especially the me,
Yeah.
not evil. Like, compared to the first episode that we had with him, I love Bill Hader's Impossible in this episode. Like, I think it took an episode for him to kind of get his bearings on it. Although I'm sure it was all recorded at the same time. But I really like his version of Impossible in this one a lot more.
For sure. Well, because I think that they probably let him, because he is not just like a typical Professor Impossible storyline sort of thing. So he can kind of put his own spin on some of it, which is like, I think it gives him a little bit more freedom, which is probably extremely helpful.
Yeah, for sure. You just let Bill Hader be Bill Hader and he'll be funny. But if you try to like tie him into something, it doesn't always go as well. But I think they figured that out. All right, let me look at this real quick. Perfect. Okay, so that's everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon
Yes.
so.
We missed nothing? Perfect. All right, well then, I'm going to say goodbye to this episode here. We'll do a quick round of plugs. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for After the Hype. Be sure to turn in Tuesdays for Samwise. I believe it's Wednesdays for Demon Days. Yes, it is Wednesdays for Demon Days, where I am also on those shows now. And that's all of my plugs. Matt, anything to plug?
Keep reading my articles. I've been resharing a few of the older ones. I reshared the Babylon 5 one recently because when I originally shared that, I actually crashed the ATH website.
Yes, you did.
That
was impressive.
So thank you to J. Michael Straczynski, the creator of Babylon 5, for retweeting that.
Yeah, both thank you and no thank you. 'Cause that took a lot of work to get us back up and running. It was kind of embarrassing. But, thanks.
So I mentioned last week about all the ones that I've got sort of ready to sort of go, and I've got quite a few in my head of what I want to do in the future. Definitely going to do one on the Terminator. Definitely going to do one on Ghostbusters. Definitely going to do one on Beverly Hills Cop. It's just finding the time, really, to sit down and, get online and actually find information out about it, which I don't already know, and crafting it into an article. But yeah, I love writing it, and it's great having an outlet now. So thank you for that. And I'm going to also give a plug to Samwise as well. I've asked a few questions, trying to stump her, and it's not worked at all.
Yeah, stumping Samwise is not possible. That's why I gave up on that campaign. She's done it every
I'm going to keep trying. I am. I'm going to think of some questions that are just so out there that like, how do I even answer this as a question?
I mean, I no offense, she's gonna pull it off. She always does.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen.
I will be victorious.
That's why we love her show. Nick, are you gonna plug that thing you're working on yet, or not yet?
Never. No, I'll do it later. I'll do it whenever it gets closer to the end.
Closer to the end, you'll plug it. Even though you can pre-order it now, and everyone knows what it is.
Probably.
I won't say.
I don't
want to spoil it. Well, after we hit stop and record,
I'll tell you then.
I will not do it online. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for listening. It's been much fun. Next week, we tune in for, again, one of my favorite episodes, and this one is just bonkers goes crazy town of assisted suicide. It is so much fun, and we finally, I believe it's the week after that, we finally meet Robobo. So tune in 2 weeks for Robobo, and next week for assisted suicide. Thank you very much for listening, and bye.
Adios.